Welcome to High Heels and Hidden Truths. I'm Vanessa Murphy, investigative reporter at KLAS TV in Las Vegas. Now, previously, we showed you the criminal case of politician Robert Tellis, who killed longtime and well-respected investigative journalist Jeff German in 2022. We showed you how that trial played out, his arrest, and more. Now, we're going to head to jail. Take a look. Did you kill Jeff German?
No, I did not. As I said before, I had nothing to do with. That was all planted. I'm innocent. You cannot be the man that I am and this killer too.
How do you explain your DNA under Jeff German's fingernails?
I don't know. Again, whether it was under his nails or not, I do know again that we've heard testimony that the officers didn't see any scratches on me. I didn't have any scratches on me. I was not at that location ever.
Those are just some brief highlights from my interview with Robert Tellis after he was found guilty, after that conviction, after his trial. I believe we were the first outlet to interview him and try to get more of his side of the story, and he still tried to maintain his innocence. That was in 2024. He was later sentenced, I believe, the next month, October 2024, 28 to life. So he has the possibility for parole right now. At last check, he was at Ely State Prison serving that sentence. Again, he was the Clark County Public Administrator, upset about journalist Jeff German's coverage of how he handled and managed his office and employees. German helped expose Robert Tellis's affair, his treatment with employees, which they called unfair. So a lot at stake for Robert Tellis. He then lost the Democratic primary, and it seemed he in part blamed Jeff German for his downfall. So again, he was convicted. We talked with him right after the jury gave that guilty verdict. So let's take a look at some longer clips from our interview with him in jail. So I've interviewed you before here in jail. You claimed you were innocent. Now that the jury has returned a guilty verdict, I'll ask you again, did you kill Jeff German?
No, I did not.
Despite the guilty verdict?
That is correct.
What do you think of the guilty verdict?
It is what it is. I think there was evidence to prove that I didn't do it. I think one of the biggest things was the fact that, I was home at 9:10 when this car pulled into my neighborhood and then pulled directly out. I think that was the biggest indicator that it couldn't have been me. But, again, with the other alleged evidence, which, again, as I said before, I had nothing to do with. That was all planted. I think but for that, they would have returned an innocent verdict, or a not guilty verdict. But I'm here now, and I've got to get working on my appeals.
Do you think taking the stand was a mistake?
I don't. I think, in fact, that if I hadn't taken the stand, then a lot of the truth wouldn't have come out. The whole story didn't get out, but some did. And I think that a lot of the things that I shared on the stand, I shouldn't say I think, I did have documentary evidence for everything that I said. Again, I think I did my best, and I think the fact that, I don't know, I guess it's a tough situation, because I try to prove the truth of the matter, but, here I am.
Judge Michelle Levitt will still have to sentence you for both of these enhancements.
you know that typically a judge wants to see remorse. A judge wants to see someone accept responsibility. You're not doing either of those things. Do you think that will hurt you in October?
I mean, again, unfortunately, if she decides to hold it against me that I'm innocent, then so be it. Then maybe I don't know. I certainly cannot accept guilt for something I didn't do just to avoid more time.
How concerned are you that you will die in prison?
Honestly, I've got appeals, and I feel very hopeful about the appeals. There's a lot of issues to address that I think may bring me home earlier than that. But again, time will tell.
Do you think your defense attorneys did a good job?
To say whether they did a good job or not, I mean, again, anything could have happened. So I couldn't say how good a job versus how bad a job they did. I know they certainly tried.
What did you think of Prosecutor Chris Hamner questioning you on the stand?
Frankly, I thought that he was not really, maybe it's not his job to be fair or to be kind, but certainly he got extremely aggressive, and I think I frankly think he turned a lot of people off, but certainly that made no difference with the verdict, despite his demeanor. So I certainly wasn't. I can't say that I was a fan of the way that he acted during the trial.
When you took the stand, there was a time where you wiped your eyes. Quite frankly, I didn't see any tears, but when I believe I saw emotion was when your mother and your wife and your ex-wife took the stand and talked about your children. Can you address that?
Actually, when they showed the photos, and again, I didn't do it as a performance. When they showed pictures of my home thrashed and my wife was sitting on the floor, it did break me up, and I did cry. But it wasn't for performance sake at all. I didn't expect. All I expected to do was to just demonstrate what had happened to my home and to explain why I made that ultimate decision to try to take my life. It was, because of everything that had been done to me during the detention, and then after they pretty much beat me up during the detention emotionally, I walk into my home and it's a train wreck. The police just threw all of my family's things everywhere. You saw my daughter's rooms were destroyed, and so when I got upstairs and saw my wife sitting on the floor crying, it broke me. And on the stand, I cried, and it wasn't for the benefit of the audience. It just happened. I never meant to cry during that. I just wanted to show the jury what they had done to my family.
Clearly, you were emotional when your mom took the stand. She said, "I love you, son," a couple of times. Your wife, your ex-wife. What do you want to say about that? Because I did see you emotional as they spoke, especially about your children.
Well, it's just, my family's my life, and that was, it was certainly to see them and to feel their, for them to show, the truth of who I am it was a very emotional time, because, unfortunately, since the start of this, people have gotten wrong who I am. I am someone who cares about people, who is always trying to do good things for the community and for individuals. And I love my kids and I love my family so much. So, just seeing their faces for the first time in almost 2 years in person instead of behind a screen, that alone was very emotional for me to be able to breathe the same air as them. And so, yeah, once they opened their mouths, it was very touching to me. You know, it meant a lot to me.
This is sad for his children. It's also sad for Jeff Gehrman's family. Let's take a break. Welcome back to High Heels and Hidden Truths. I'm Vanessa Murphy. We are continuing to play my interview in jail with Robert Tellis in 2024. Shortly after the jury returned a guilty verdict, Robert Tellis was a politician, Clark County public administrator. He was upset at Review Journal investigative reporter Jeff Gehrman's coverage. He went to Gehrman's home and he killed them. It was shocking. It was unbelievable. And today, Robert Tellis is serving time in prison. Let's continue to watch this interview.
I mean, your mom said you were a loving son and you had a lot of responsibility as a kid. Both of your wives said you're an excellent dad. Here you are, convicted of murder. Many people believe you're a killer, and those are two different people, a loving dad and then a killer. That's interesting.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm innocent. You cannot be the man that I am and this killer too. And, you know, again, I think people for some reason thought I was mentally ill or what have you, just based on all this media attention. But you can clearly see I'm not. You know, there have been evaluations done to show that I'm not an aggressive person. I'm not, I'm none of these things that this typical killer would have, these traits.
It has been suggested that possibly you're a narcissist and you've convinced yourself that you didn't commit this murder, even though you did.
Well, that is absolutely not the truth. I didn't commit the murder. So, and again, people can speculate all they want, but as you heard, I think for you to be a narcissist, you have to not care about anybody else. You have to care only about yourself. I care about, I've always cared about the world at large. I've cared about my family. I care about others. To say that I'm a narcissist, I mean, again, that's just speculation on the part of people who want to believe that I committed this crime.
And again, they said you're a family man. You're saying you're a family man. You did have the affair, and you did lie about it for a couple of years. Are you a liar? That suggests you're a liar.
And again, you can certainly, you can say what you want. I was trying to protect my family, and that is what it is.
You mentioned that not everything came out, that perhaps there were other things you wanted to mention. Could you maybe just share one of those things that you felt was important?
I think the truth behind Detective Jappy's motivations and how it all started, and the way that he lied about the initiation of this investigation, never got out. And, again, that was an investigation that started before Mr. Gehrman's death. And so this confluence of all these supposedly strange things that happen to have no bearing as far as people are concerned on the case, it's not coincidence. It's a crazy, crazy story, but again, I've got backup to show all of this.
But as prosecutor Chris Hamner pointed out, a lot of people would have to be part of your conspiracy. The DNA lab, it doesn't make sense.
Not necessarily, no. Again, it doesn't have to be a lot of people. And certainly, again, like I said before, not every single officer needed to be in on the idea of trying to frame me for the sake of, allowing a criminal enterprise to continue, but only for the sake of trying to help, again, another officer build his case. I've seen numerous cases where this has occurred including even where DNA evidence has been planted here in Clark County.
How do you explain the DNA? Okay, how do you explain how do you explain your DNA under Jeff Gehrman's fingernails?
I don't know. Again, whether it was under the nails or not, I do know again that we've heard testimony that the officers didn't see any scratches on me. I didn't have any scratches on me. I was not at that location ever. So how this evidence may have gotten under his nails or not, I don't know.
What about the photos of Jeff's home and neighborhood?
Again, I did not take those.
The searches.
Again, the one set of search that I talked about, trying to promote my website to combat again the allegations. That's true, but those other searches untrue.
The cut-up shoe.
Again, it makes no sense. No, I don't know. Again, everything that they claim to have found in my home is planted.
You heard it there, Robert Tellis insisting he was framed and all of this evidence was planted in his home. Okay, Jeff Gehrman had Tellis's DNA under his fingernails. Clothing matched to the crime scene, matched to what police say they found in Tellis's home. The vehicle matching the vehicle seen outside Gehrman's home. The suspect's walk matching Robert Tellis's walk. Searches of Jeff Gehrman's neighborhood, police say, found on Tellis's devices. There was just so much as that evidence piled up. But his story is that he was framed. And sometimes in doing these interviews, especially lengthy interviews, and when someone insists they are innocent when they are not, you wonder, has this person actually convinced themselves of their innocence, or are they just flat out lying and know they're lying? I mean, Tellis has really stuck to this story, but as we discussed in that interview, for Tellis to be framed, there would have to be so many people as part of this conspiracy. The district attorney, the lab, detectives. Do police get things wrong? Absolutely. And we report on that sometimes. But in this case, the evidence piled up. The jury saw that Robert Tellis was lying. Let's take a break. Welcome back to High Heels and Hidden Truths. I'm Vanessa Murphy. We are in our final segment. This is my interview with convicted killer Robert Tellis. This was after the jury returned that guilty verdict in 2024. Take a look.
What is your biggest regret?
I don't know. I don't know that I could say that I would have done anything differently. I was trying to do my best to make sure to, do work for the community. So I can't say that I want to take that back. I do know that if Detective Jappi had done his job, I believe that Mr. Gehrman would be alive today. But again, at this point, I can't do any further investigation until I get out of here, if I can even get out of here in time to do any investigating. Once time goes on, things disappear. So I don't know.
What would you say to individuals who are concerned about their safety if you ever are released from prison?
Again, there's that. I don't believe anyone should ever really have any credible fear of me. These folks who prior made these allegations know that they're false about my demeanor. I'm not an angry person. I don't flip out on people. And I think that was even demonstrated when I was on the stand, that, as much as I think that Mr. Hamner wanted to rile me and make me explode, that's just not the kind of person I am. I don't get angry at people. So this notion that I'm going to be on a hunt for people, that's crazy. That's just so crazy.
Why did you want to talk to us today?
I guess really just to, again, answer questions, and I'm sure that people were curious to whether or not I maintain my innocence, but yes, I do maintain my innocence. I did not kill Mr. Gurman.
What would you say? So you're essentially saying 12 jurors are wrong. What would you say to the jury?
Just that, I understand this is what you thought was right, but you were wrong. I'll have to live with that decision for some time. Again, I'm hopeful I don't have to live with it for too long. I believe that there's a chance that I'll get out on appeal after this.
Your mother said that she accepts the verdict. Does that mean she believes her son is a killer?
No, I don't believe so at all. I believe she accepts that they've decided that they're sending me away. My mother has always believed in my innocence. My mother has, we talk, like as she said, numerous times a week. No, and I've told her I'm innocent. And my mother believes me. She knows I don't, I wouldn't lie about this.
How concerned are you about prison? It's no secret that the prisons here are quite a mess.
So I guess my hope is to, maybe go to Lovelock for now. I understand it's a protective custody prison, because I am concerned that, if for some reason I'm released into general population, that an accident may happen and I may not, I may not make it. So I'm certainly concerned about that. But I'm also concerned about being put in, a protective custody situation in one of the other prisons where I'm not allowed out of my cell, and I'm not allowed to work. I'm not allowed to, again, keep myself busy, and then I've just got to sit there and stare at the walls for years.
Since the verdict, have you been on suicide watch?
So immediately after the verdict, I informed the administration that I was ready to get to work on my appeal.
Okay.
That I felt fine. The psychiatrist came and saw me. I explained the same to her. I'm good. I'm just ready to get to work on my appeal. And despite that, they decided to throw me into 2C, where they strip you down naked. They put you in a cold, windowless room where the lights are on 24 hours a day. They give you a cargo blanket for a blanket, and you've got no entertainment, no books, no nothing.
So it wasn't.
And so it wasn't because there was any credible concern that I could see.
Okay.
The psychiatrist saw no credible concern. They just threw me in there anyway.
Okay. I have a minute left with you. There's two questions I want to cover really quick. We're going to get cut off, so I apologize for cutting you off. But where's the murder weapon?
I don't know. I have no idea. Again, I did not kill Mr. Gurman, so asking me where the weapon is, I have no idea.
Were you there as Jeff Gearman said his last words?
I did not kill Mr. Gurman. I've never been to his home. I was not there, no.
Okay. Thank you for talking with us. It's going to cut us off anyway, but I appreciate it, okay? All right. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Bye.
And there you have it, our interview with convicted killer Robert Tellis, former politician, Clark County public administrator. That was in 2024 after the jury returned a guilty verdict for the murder of Review Journal investigative journalist Jeff Gearman, who exposed wrongdoing in the public administrator's office under Robert Tellis's leadership. Today, he is in Ely State Prison, serving life with the possibility of parole. Years from now, when he goes in front of the parole board, victims, people he affected, can tell the parole board their thoughts on whether he should be released. I remember the employees at the public administrator's office who first reached out to Jeff Gearman to see if he could look into what was happening. They told me they will be there at those hearings. The family of Jeff Gearman will most likely be at those hearings. You know, people are concerned that perhaps he would want to seek revenge. They are concerned if he is ever a free man. So the question will be, what will the parole board do? Another question is, will Robert Tellis finally accept responsibility at those types of hearings? Because that is something the parole board wants to see. If someone's serving time in prison and they're still insisting they didn't commit the crime, but they should be released, oftentimes the parole board, as judges do, look at that as the person refusing to accept responsibility. So we will see. Thanks for watching.